get into this a little bit more. We're joined by Greg Simons, Associate Professor at the Institute for Russian and Eurasian Studies at Uppsala University in Sweden. Greg, thanks for joining us. You know, every time we go into these negotiations, we hear inklings of what each side wants, and you kind of check those off like, okay, the other side will never accept that. Nope, that's a no-go, that's a red line. What are your prospects for things actually moving in the direction of peace at this point?
Well, they are gradually moving. I mean, this is very incremental. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. I would say that it's gone into a different phase, because if we look at it previously, earlier on, there was no prospect because emotions were too high. The situation on the battlefield was unclear. But these things, emotions are slowly lowering. It's becoming more clear what the military situation is, and this enables the politics to start playing out. And this is what we're seeing now when the sides become more realistic, but still trying to push the other side a little bit in terms of the negotiation process.
Got it. And of course, what is said publicly is not necessarily what is said behind closed doors. However, when you think about Ukraine saying they're going to have the security backing of all these other countries, and Russia's original demand was that Ukraine never join NATO, you think, well, why would Russia accept that? At the same time, you think, why would Ukraine at this point, after being bombarded, accept a loss of its territory? It's difficult to see anything but a stalemate.
Well, I mean, this is why you have an ongoing process, because no side wants to lose too much in the process. And of course, Ukraine has the issue of not only dealing with Russia, but also dealing with different political opinions and objectives internally in terms of its Ukrainian politics. So they have a very precarious balance to perform between what those more nationalistically want to see in the process and what those other different interests want to see.
Yeah, and speaking of internal politics in Russia, for months, analysts have been saying there's no way Putin would do this. The pressure on him from the public, from his inner circle, from others would be too great. Now his inner circle and himself have been targeted by these harsh sanctions. The ruble has crashed. All of this pressure on him, but it hasn't changed anything. Has all of that been vastly overstated?
Yes, it's been well overstated, and it's based on, if we look at previous uses of economic sanctions as a weapon against another power, Russia is no longer playing that game. And we see the ruble's recovered from what it was. But also, we can also see that when the West talks about the international community being against Russia, this is more or less NATO, the EU, Japan, South Korea, and a lot of the rest of the world is not, if we look at the UN votes, are not actually condemning. They're either sitting on the sideline or being supportive. I mean, we can look at the role of India and China in this instance.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I mean, the world wonders what to do outside of direct involvement. Greg, good to talk to you.